Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi. I think finally I've got it figured out. One of the themes I constantly touch on this channel is leadership. And it's really important to me because I see this in every facet of life, in your home life, in your gaming, in your work life, in your social life. Leadership's really important. And just as important is to recognize if you don't maybe have that leadership gene. And that's okay if you don't have that leadership gene. As I've talked to you before, most people just need a really good manager. What's a really good manager do? They look out for you, your employees. If you're the leader of your manager of your family, make sure people get places on time, that they get their insurance, that they get their shots, that they're taken care of, that on their birthdays aren't forgotten. Management of things is super important. Fortunately, that's a skill that you can learn. If that mouse is going to be in the middle of the screen, I apologize, YouTube. So I'm on Nar Shaddaa. So I'm doing the next new planet. Nar Shaddaa is one big world that's just like a big Las Vegas planet. All types of crime. The Hutts kind of, you might have seen me in some of the other videos. I'm on Hutta. The Hutts control Hutta, and they also control Nar Shaddaa. I'm taking a drink because I don't want to be hacking the whole time. Will this ever go away? So I sped it up in most parts 2 times. There's some parts where I'm going to slow it down. That's the second field agent who's missed a check-in. Our network's under attack. And why did I mention future leadership? You're eventually going to have a nightmare as a leader. And one of the first places in pop culture where they kind of demonstrated this type of leadership was the original Star Trek. Spock was a half human, half Vulcan. The planet Vulcan was all based on logic. They used logic to conquer all their warlike tendencies. They still had rituals that harken back to the days when they were primeval and still kind of reigned by emotions that controlled them. And so you always had this dynamic between Captain Kirk, Spock, and Bones, who was the medical officer. And Bones, being the medical officer, was kind of like, I don't forget what if it's left side, right side, but he was, let's say left side is the creative side, the feeling side. That's what the doctor was. Spock was the right side, the logic side, and then Kirk would kind of manage between the two. And so when I talk about future leadership, what if you have to lead AI? And so inherently, in most just factual context, artificial intelligence is going to have the depth and breadth of knowledge that you don't have. But like we said, or like I'm positing, leadership is a trait you're born with. It's something you can't develop. I'm looking for my shoe, YouTube. So here's the conundrum. If I believe leadership's born and it's not been able to be taught, then how is it going to be that the AI is ever going to lead you? It's going to be smarter than you. And by smarter, it's going to know more factual things. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. It's going to know that stuff more than you. It's going to know that the weapons that you're going against, the muzzle velocity, how far it's going to, the lethal range of everything, it's going to know all that stuff. And if leadership can be programmed into a robot or into an AI, then leadership then could be taught to people, and people could therefore become leaders. Or we have to learn to distill what leadership is. And we've been doing this for what, how many years is this current iteration of humans. What did humans come out like? What was it, 60,000 years ago? I don't know when Homo sapien came out. Let's say we got off the out of the trees 4 million years ago. I forget what the whole dynamics of all that is. But let's say from 9,000 or 10,000 BC to now, the last 12,000 years, we've had a pretty good idea of what leadership is. And we still haven't been able to distill it. Again, managing is sometimes better. Normally, YouTube, this is when I ask you to like, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, share, comment, hit the notifications. Trying to grow the channel to 500. If you could help me, I'd appreciate it. My goal is to get some monetization where I could afford to buy a laptop, do a review for a month on it, and then raffle that off back out to the community. I have a belief that if you do reviews on hardware that are worthwhile, that someone could make a buying decision. Those are more important than just telling you what the ports are, the stats of the machine. Those are the features of the machine, not the benefits. Anyways, back to future leadership. So right now, I'm not as smart as an AI. I'm not smart as anything. I'm average, let's say. But I've had leaders and managers that it was hard for them to manage me because maybe I knew more than them. So that situation is only going to be exacerbated for people that are challenged by entities that are smarter than them. There's a lot of people that manage. There's a lot of people in leadership positions that feel whatever. They get in their feelings about not being the smartest or being on a team. Part of being a good leader is using everyone on your team, and those are pieces for you to achieve your objectives. But what if you have someone that's always constantly challenging you and questioning you? And so in the original Star Trek, that was Spock. Later Star Treks, that was Data. In Star Wars, that might be C-3PO, that might be R2-D2. And one of the things that's going to happen with AI in the future, at a certain point, will be unable to distinguish whether it's living or not, and it's intelligent or not, because we can barely define that in ourselves. So it's going to be really easy and lazy for us to say, well, they're intelligent and they have their own whatever. Does a robot have a free will? Does an AI have its free will? Again, this would be my question to all those people. If the heuristics that are programmed, the algorithm is programmed into AI and it learns on its own, is that its free will? Are there some things, there's stories where the guy at Google, and it was doing a thing over and over, and eventually it made this jump, and then they said, oh, you got to shut it off because now it's right. So we have all those discussions. That's why free will is an important discussion, because it dovetails into the future leadership. So do you think leaders are made? If leaders are made, then how come we can't make better leaders? Then why do we let the people that run for office here in the United States, why do we let them lead us, and they're horrible leaders? They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. A good leader would say, hey, I'm too old to do this job. But the humanness gets in the way. Conversely, is it just robots that are going to lead us just because you know more? And I don't think that's what leadership has never been about 100%, that it's just knowledge. There's a charisma. There's something about leaders that make us follow them. It's not that they know necessarily more than us. Think about a company like Apple and think about the cult around Steve Jobs. They would follow him. He wasn't the smartest guy, but he had something. And we call it charisma, but it could be something else. Maybe it's me dumbly clicking on boxes over and over like I just did. For those of you that are listening, I'm playing Star Wars The Old Republic. I am a Jedi Shadow doing the Jedi Knight mission. I have posited to everyone on this channel that the Jedi Knight mission is one of the best stories here. I think Star Wars The Old Republic is a great game to play because the story's great. Right now, I am on Nar Shaddaa carrying out some missions. And if you know before, the story arc that I'm sharing on this Star Wars Old Republic on Ronan Kazi is that I smoked some Sith Lord's son, and now they vowed to get me. And I'm just routinely taking out Siths. Getting back to future leadership, though, these are the questions that you need to know right now. Do you believe that leaders are born or are they made? If they're made, what are the qualities that make them made? If we can make a leader, how come we can't turn people into leaders? If we can't turn people into leaders, can we turn machines into leaders? Leading people that are smarter than us is difficult at times because they have a lot of questions. Sometimes we don't have the answer. Sometimes we say, well, just because. And here I have this droid. We're a partner. The droid likes that we're friends together, that we're doing stuff. The droid's telling me, hey, we make a good team. And I have to be careful what I answer to the droid to see if I get his approval. Because the more I get his approval, the better a companion he is. That's a game, but that's in real life also. The more people that are with you, the more that you can lead them the right way, the more they'll do what you say. The more that you'll achieve. Sometimes they'll achieve without you telling them to do anything because they understand what the goal is. Leadership is a complex and an enormous thing. So you should give some thought about your leadership. If you're in your 20s, there's books you can read that will help you learn how to manage and let you identify some of those traits. Are you an informal leader? That's the senior moment I had a couple videos back. I couldn't think of the word informal. But what I'm going to tell you is, if you're an informal leader, doesn't mean that everyone's always flocking to you, but sometimes people seek your opinion. What if I'm not a leader, Ronan? Now I somehow feel less than. Well, chances are if you're not a leader, someone's going to lead you. And the biggest thing you can do is know what makes you tick so you can help that leader get the most out of you. For you to know what you want and you can express that. Because why do you want to follow someone that's not going to make sure you win too? Part of the job for a leader is to make sure everyone wins. Every mission isn't a do or die mission. Okay, someone's going to have to die today, boys. That's not how it works. We all got to get advanced. We all got to get what we need to go to the next level. That's what a leader helps you do. Manager, make sure you get that. But a manager can't inspire you to breathe life into you. I almost want to say it's inherently not a machine thing that could lead you because it can't inspire you. You search philosophy. That is a hard thing. Where does inspiration come from? What makes you creative? Sometimes when you look at the videos I'm looking up and around, I'm always looking for maybe good screenshots on what's going to happen next. YouTube, I appreciate you. I appreciate all the support you give me. What do you think about your leadership? This is not a question you have to answer with me. It's just something you have to think about. Everyone can be a better manager. Everyone can. Part of leadership is selling. And I've said this before, you're always selling. So part of it is there. So here we come to the payoff, YouTube. I've slowed it back down. And look, there's another angry Sith.
Impressive. When my men failed to report.
Now, I will say this about the Sith. Mad props to all their little outfits, which are
good men at that recruitment center.
Awesome.
The best.
Yes.
They gave me no choice.
I'd rather have. And I told you, since I played this game, I kind of tend to be more for the Sith. I don't want to do the Jedi do-gooder stuff. But the stories about the Sith in here are not, they're not as, I think, grandiose in their scope. So this is getting near the end. Normally I don't like to forecast to you, but I appreciate you being around, YouTube. I appreciate everyone helping to make the channel grow. I really want to thank you. This Ronan Kazi out.